Hi everybody, my name is Hilary Booth and I'm a naturopathic doctor and welcome to my video blog. This week we're going to be talking about the F word, fat. But before we get going on that, I just want to remind you that if you have any extended healthcare insurance that covers naturopathic medicine, now is the time to book your first appointment with me so that we can get started on your treatment before the end of the year and your insurance plan runs out. So you can go to www.drshawnadaru.com in order to book your appointment with me. So let's get to it. Fats. Now, fats are an important part of any healthy diet. They provide essential fatty acids, and they keep our skin soft, they deliver fat-soluble vitamins, and they're a great source of energizing fuel, just to say a couple things that they're important for. But it's easy to get confused about what's our good fats and bad fats, and which ones we should be eating and how much we should eat in order to avoid coronary artery disease or heart disease. It's important to make sure that you understand what you're eating and why you're eating it. So we need approximately 25 to 35% of our diet to come from fat. And that's a lot more than most people are eating. Too often women shy away from eating foods that have fats in them because they don't want to get fat. Now, more and more research is coming out that shows us that fat doesn't make you fat. What does make you gain weight is eating more calories than you're burning off in a day. And this can be in the form of sugars or fats or proteins or alcohol, you name it, it doesn't matter. It's more about calories in versus calories out when it comes to gaining and losing weight. But we're going to get back to fat and we're going to talk about what all this buzz is about good fats versus bad fats. I want to clarify this for you. So I'm first going to divide fats up into two major categories. The first is unsaturated fats and the second is saturated fats. First, we're going to talk about saturated fats. We all have heard about this term and we come to think of it as bad fats. These mostly come from animal products including cream, butter, lard, and meats. But they also come from coconut oil and avocados and eggs and chocolate and nuts. So not all these things are bad. Saturated fats have a really bad rep. People associate the word saturated fat with heart disease and cancer and diabetes, but recent studies are showing us that they've actually found that there's no link between saturated fat and heart disease or death from heart disease. So what's the bottom line about saturated fats? We can eat them. You should be eating them. They're an important part of a regular diet, but they need to be eaten in moderation. Anybody who eats a diet that's strictly made up of butter and meat is obviously not going to be healthy. But research shows that incorporating things like coconut oil and eggs and meat into a balanced diet is something that is healthy for us. So as the author Michael Pollan says, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And that's going to kind of be what I'm talking about today and working around as our theme. So let's move on to the slightly more complicated realm of unsaturated fats. I'd like to divide them up into trans unsaturated fats and cis unsaturated fats. So stay with me here. So trans unsaturated fats are the real true bad fats. These are basically trans fat is a normal molecule that has been changed in a lab by a process called hydrogenation. And this process makes oils more stable and less likely to spoil. And so it's good for manufacturers of processed foods, right? They don't want their foods to spoil, so they use these trans fats in them. But the trade-off is that our bodies don't recognize this molecule and our bodies can't process them the way that they process cis unsaturated fats, which we're going to talk about in a second. So as a result, these trans unsaturated fats are what causes cholesterol and heart disease and inflammation and cancer and obesity, all these things that we want to avoid when we think about bad fats. So the bottom line is that we need to watch out for trans fats in margarine and fried foods, potato chips, microwave popcorn, and pretty much any pre-made baked goods and other pre-made foods. So read your nutrition labels carefully. Watch out for the words partially hydrogenated oil and the words trans fats. And you should really be avoiding these trans fats as much as possible, period, always. Now that we understand bad fats, let's move on to focusing about good fats. So there are cis unsaturated fats that we mentioned earlier. These are the fats that our body needs, and they have major health benefits for us. Now I want to first talk about the omega-3 fatty acids, which you may have heard about before, and they're the most talked about for a good reason. They've been shown to improve memory and improve brain function. They decrease your risk of heart disease. They fight depression, and they reduce your risk of cancer. So they're good for a whole range of different things. Fats are important. Don't forget that. So best of all, they're anti-inflammatory. So these fats are an important part of any healthy diet, and these omega-3s are primarily found from fish and plant sources. So rich sources include hemp and flax and chia, salmon, and sardines, to give you some examples. So most people don't get enough of these things in their diet, so that's why taking a fish oil supplement can be a really helpful thing in order to benefit your diet and add it to your daily routine. So again, I'm going to bring you back to that Michael Pollan quote. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. So omega-3s come mostly from plants. So the other common cis-unsaturated fat that we've been talking about is called omega-6 fatty acids. Now these are more common in most people's diets. They're found in poultry and nuts and cereals. They're found in bread, and they're found in sunflower and other vegetable oils. So they're generally good. They're not as bad as our trans-unsaturated fats, but they have to make sure that the amount of omega-3s that we're getting in our diet outweighs the amount of omega-6s that we're getting in our diet. And in most people's diets, it's the other way around. We get too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. So when this happens, when you have too many omega-6s, inflammation takes over the body because omega-6s are pro-inflammatory in nature. So, lots of things that we've covered here today. I'm going to give you a quick recap of the bottom line. Saturated fats that we talked about at the beginning, they aren't as bad as we originally thought. You don't need to be afraid of them, just eat them in moderation. Trans-unsaturated fats are awful. They should be avoided at all costs. And finally, cis-unsaturated fats, omega-3s and omega-6s. You should eat more omega-3s than omega-6s in your diet for cancer fighting, memory boosting, heart strengthening, and anti-inflammatory effects. So if you remember anything from this talk, remember Michael Pollan's words. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great day.